Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm going to share with you 7 habits I made that kept me poor for the longest time. I spent the first decade of my adult life struggling with money, and now I want to share with you the mistakes that I made so you can potentially learn from it. But make sure you hit that like button, because every time you hit the like button, the YouTube algorithm says, okay, this video is good, let's share it with more people. So the first bad habit I had that kept me poor was looking down instead of up. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that I would not want to hang around successful people. Okay, I look at them and their accomplishments, and it's like a mirror to my face. It's like, okay, why haven't I accomplished that? That would make me uncomfortable. And so I would get comfort by looking down, by looking at people with lesser accomplishments than me. It doesn't mean that they're lesser than me, but they just have lesser accomplishments than me, or that they're in a worse off position than me. And I would pat myself on the back and be like, huh, at least you're not in that position. Be grateful. And that would allow me to just coast. Okay. But when I look at these successful people, any successful friends or anything, or successful colleagues, I would start to get uncomfortable. But I mean, that's what you got to do. If you want to be rich, if you want to grow in whatever goals you have to look at people who have accomplished more than you, even if that does make you uncomfortable. I think it will, because you're starting to process. You're thinking, why am I not at that level? So the second thing is inertia. Okay, what is inertia? It means an object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. If you're doing everything right, then you want to keep on doing that. If you're doing everything wrong, then hopefully you stop. But inertia means that you just keep on doing it day after day after day. Do this little thought experiment. Think about what you did today. Think about what you did this past week. I'm willing to bet you did the exact same thing pretty much the week prior to that. That's inertia. I would have a list of things that I knew I needed to do to get to the next level, but I just wouldn't do them because life is comfortable, life is easy, just keep on doing the same things over and over again, okay? But inertia is what kept me trapped there, okay? So I had to kind of break free of my chains to get out of that rut, to get to the next level. So the third thing is having a low attention span, okay? It's 2020, the 21st century. What is our economy about in this day and age? A lot of it is based on information. It's all about human capital. It's all about what's up here. So in this day and age, you're constantly having to learn new information to get in your craft, to improve on your craft. And if you don't have the attention span, if you're constantly letting things distract you, that can be deadly. That kind of affected me. That really screwed me over for quite some time, because I just didn't really think about how important it is to be able to just sit down and focus for an hour, several hours, just sit down and focus and learn, absorb. That is extremely important in the 21st century. So number 4 is I neglected the smallest of disciplines. Now let me give you a small example of that. Long time ago, I used to work at Walmart as a cart pusher in the hot Dallas, Texas heat. And let me tell you, that was slave labor. So appreciate the cart pushers out there. Make sure you put the carts in the cart corral. But anyway, when I was working that job, I used to think like, this is backbreaking labor, but I don't need to focus on this. So I would not put my effort into it. I would go as slow as possible. And I was thinking that maybe I'd be able to work my way up to a cashier at some point. I'd get the easier jobs on the inside. Okay. After working there for a bit, there was another guy who joined, and he was a much harder worker than me. And so the managers, they would stand on the inside and they would monitor like what the cart pushers are doing. And they would see that this guy, he was busting his butt. Whereas me and like some of my other friends who were working there, we were just taking our sweet time. So that guy ended up getting promoted pretty quickly. He ended up being a cashier, assistant manager, whereas me and my friends, we were just stuck out there in the hot Texas heat. And why? Because when they did not trust us with the smallest of disciplines, there's no way they're going to trust you with larger disciplines. So the point is, you need to focus on everything. It all matters. And eventually I got frustrated and left that job. And that kind of just spiraled into bigger problems, because now I had a loss of income, which, caused me more problems down the line. That was a whole nother story. So it is very important to focus on everything. It all matters. Don't ignore the small things. Number 5, I had no concept of time. This is the one thing that truly huge magnitude separates someone with a poor mindset versus a rich mindset. See, when I had a poor mindset, I would let time pass me by. I would watch TV, scroll through social media, and I still do that today, but it was even really worse back then. And I wouldn't focus on the goals that I knew I needed to accomplish, the goals that I had. And that's deadly. It's almost like a disease, not focusing on time. So don't let time pass you by. One thing you will notice about pretty much any successful person is that they are very good at time management. That means thinking about how you're going to plan your day, plan your week. Number 6, indifference. What I mean by that is I would have occasionally decisions to make. I mean, it's kind of like every day we have small decisions to make. Sometimes there are big decisions you have to make. And I would try and put off making those decisions for as long as possible. And that's an absolute killer. That's another killer. Not making a decision is like the worst thing you can do. And I think I used to be afraid that I wasn't making the perfect decision, afraid that I was going to make the wrong decision, then look back and regret. But when you make those bad decisions, that's how you learn. That's how you grow, so that in the future, you're more equipped, more powerful to make decisions more effectively. So don't be afraid to make decisions. Don't be indecisive. Don't be indifferent. You have to make decisions. Let me also give you an example for that. Think about a rock. Imagine you're walking down the road and you see a rock. Okay. Now what is this rock doing? What decisions does this rock make? It makes no decisions at all. It is indifferent. What has this rock accomplished? It's accomplished nothing. Why? Because it makes no decisions. So think about that. Do you want to be an accomplished, successful human being that achieves your goals in your dreams in life? Or do you want to be that rock just sitting on the side of the road? Number 7, making excuses. This is a big one, and I think a lot of us can relate to it. But I used to look at my shortcomings, and I used to try and point to some outside force, outside factor, maybe some outside person, maybe the system, and say, okay, that's the reason why I haven't accomplished this. But you know what the problem with that is? That when you're blaming something else, someone else, some outside force, it absolves you of responsibility. It makes it easier for you to not really think and have introspection. Think about what you are doing differently. Okay, let me give you an example. I have this friend, he's about 5 years younger than me, and we're just chilling at this bar. And at one point, the topic came up of his financial instability. So I was trying to give him some advice, okay, some basic advice. I told him, hey, since it's so hard for you to save money, this is what you should do. You should transfer money from your bank account to your savings account the very first thing your paycheck hits, okay? And in fact, you can do this automatically. You can set it up so on the day your paycheck hits, your paycheck immediately goes into your savings account. I told him this, and what he said next is something I would never forget. It blew my mind because it was the epitome of someone that makes excuses. You know what he told me? The reason why he couldn't do that? He said, I don't have a savings account. Okay, and after that, I just said nothing else because I was like, wow, I don't think he wants to help himself, so it's going to be difficult for me to help him. So, when you think about someone being in a situation where they're blaming all their problems on outside forces, how can they grow? There's no introspection. This is why it's extremely important that we're constantly looking at ourselves, looking at our own actions, and asking ourselves, how can we get to the next level? What are we doing wrong? All right, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video, and let me ask you a question. What kind of mindset do you have? Do you have a poor mindset or do you have a rich mindset? Let me know in the comments. See you next time.